So Microsoft had an earnings call today and they talked about the stock situation for the Microsoft Xbox Series X and the Series S. And we're going to go through some other things from that earnings call as well. But that's what we're going to be talking about today in this video. Now we're going to talk about these three tweets from Daniel Ahmad, and the stock situation is the last one here. So if you want to just skip ahead to that, just use the chapter links below. Okay, so the first one is Xbox Game Pass now has 18 million subscribers according to Satya Nadella from the Microsoft earnings conference call. And that's super interesting because if we look at how many subscribers they had in September, The Verge writes that they had 15 million subscribers in September. So that's a growth of 3 million subscribers in 3 months. So I think it's very similar to the Netflix situation because Netflix has been growing crazily well, and Game Pass is something very similar because people have been looking for entertainment options while they've been stuck at home. So I think things like Game Pass and Netflix and even things like Lego, for example, have been doing really well during the pandemic era. Now, as people go back to work this year, I think the growth might slow down a little bit, but because people have been preconditioned now to use subscription services, they might be more open-minded to it. They might tell their friends more, and in the past, before you enter into a subscription, you're kind of nervous about like how much you're really going to be spending over a long period of time. But once you actually start using it, then it just becomes very normal to use. So I think now that people are in, then these subscription services will continue to do well. Now, if you look at this table from Microsoft's earnings release, and it has Xbox content and services performing the second highest out of all of their groups. Second to Microsoft Azure, which is obviously their cloud services. And because people are at home in the pandemic, obviously everybody is using cloud services. But Xbox content and services doing amazingly well. 40% year-on-year change between 2019 and 2020. Now, obviously the pandemic had a big part to this, but I think in general, people are excited about the new consoles, and I think this is going to continue to grow for every quarter this year. So just to summarize Microsoft's earnings, their revenue was $43.1 billion this quarter and increased 17%, and their operating income was $17.9 billion, increased 29%. So as you can see, they're up on everything. They beat expectations and their share price went up overnight. Now, in Daniel's second tweet, he writes that also from the conference call, $2 billion in revenue from third-party content this quarter, which leaves around $1.5 billion for first-party content and subscriptions. So that's $3.5 billion in that quarter alone, just from Xbox. And if you look at this chart, this is for top games company earnings of 2019. Now, this is from March of 2019 to March of 2020. And they have $10 billion for Xbox. So one would have to assume that in this report that will be coming up in a couple of months' time, that Xbox could possibly do maybe $13 to $15 billion in a single year. And that would represent a lot of growth. That's 30 to 50% growth in a single year. And as you can see, with Nintendo at about 12 billion and Sony at around 18 billion, obviously they would have grown by heaps during the pandemic as well. But Xbox is also doing well, and even though the demand doesn't seem like it out there, Microsoft is doing really well in gaming. So as you can see, even though Sony and Nintendo would, I assume, have to be doing very well last year during the pandemic, I think Microsoft is not far behind. And I would say even though there's so much hype for the PlayStation 5 and what Nintendo might do with their next console, well, I would say that Microsoft is following suit and they're equally doing just as well. So Daniel's final tweet is, one final note, Microsoft says that Xbox Series X and S supply will still be constrained through the end of this quarter at a minimum, quarter ending March 31st, 2021. So that's still 8 weeks away, and I would say that while the supply is constrained, doesn't mean that there's no supply. It just means that they'll sell out very quickly. So people still looking for an Xbox Series X and S, I would say that they still need to be following those stock alerts and trying to get one as soon as they drop at retailers. And maybe, over time, as more buyers leave the market because they already get one, well then maybe hopefully things will get a little bit easier for you, and the stock drops will last a little bit longer. Maybe they'll last a few hours rather than a few minutes, but you still need to be on the ball on these type of things. So I think people have been having a go at me for my previous video on the PS5 stocks, and so just quickly to comment on that, because a lot of people have been writing 2 weeks now what, because in that video I said that it will be 2 weeks until it becomes unprofitable. Well, I would say that the reasoning in that video was still sound. It was just that the prediction was off. So it might be 4 weeks, it might be 8 weeks, but we don't know. In fact, nobody really knows, and even Microsoft wouldn't know that the Xbox Series X or S situation is going to be cleared up by the end of this quarter, as they say they are. So we have no idea what's going to happen, but it's just a prediction, and this is a prediction and analysis channel, so I'm trying to help you guys out with my analysis. And so I'm still happy with the reasoning in that video, so I see no reason to take that down. Obviously the prediction is not didn't pan out the way it should have, but that's okay, because I'm just trying to help you guys out. So anyways, that's all for this one. If you like this video, make sure to click the like button and also to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.